Women hold less than 25% of the 500 million elected positions in the United States. But one group is trying to drastically change that number in just over a decade. The nonpartisan organization She Should Run has launched a new campaign called 250K by 2030. Erin Loos Cutraro is the founder and CEO of She Should Run, and she joins me now. Welcome to you, Erin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The numbers are astounding to me. More than 15,000 women have joined the She Should Run community since the election. What does that mean exactly?
Well, look, I think we have to keep in mind that there are over 500,000 elected offices in this country. So what we have seen just since the November election is, like you said, astounding. It is truly something to give us great optimism. But we have a lot of work to do to close the gap on the number of women that are serving, especially at the local level.
And so what is it that your organization does to help women who want to run for office?
Sure. So we have a number of programs. One of them is called the She Should Run Incubator. So it's really meant for the woman who is thinking about running for office for the very first time. So she can come to the She Should Run community, she can look behind the curtain, she can get to know other women who have run successfully and not, and learn a little bit about what it takes and what she can do to bring her leadership to elected office.
So how much has Donald Trump's candidacy affected your turnout, you think?
Sure. So we launched this program, the She Should Run Incubator, in October of 2016, and we set a goal to get 400 women in the program by the end of the year. And by the end of 2016, we actually had 5,500. So I think what we have seen is that the polarization in this country that we saw coming out of the last election really brought people to the table to say, especially women, to say, we can do better than this. We have to do better than this.
So you think that was really what one of the primary factors was for a lot of women?
Yeah.
It was just sort of the hyper-partisan environment?
I think it's the hyper-partisan environment. I think it's also the challenging environment that women see rising to positions of power, and they look around in elected offices and see that often their voices aren't represented. So, you know, women represent less than a quarter of all elected offices in this country. We have so much work to do to close that gap.
I mean, it's such an ambitious number, though. How do you plan on getting to 250,000?
Sure. So one of the big messages that we wanted out of this campaign is to point out that we're not going to see this change overnight. So much of the conversation is about what are we going to see in the 2018 election cycle, and I think we will see a number of women who are on the ballot and who hopefully are successful. But ultimately, it is going to take time. When a woman thinks about running for office, it takes her, you know, it might take time to make that decision, but to run a successful campaign and to really be mindful about how you can make a true difference won't happen overnight. And so we're in it for the long haul. We're creating a community of women who can be really helpful to these women who are thinking about running, and we really think that's where the difference lies.
You've said that women win elections for public office at the same rate as men, so why aren't they running?
That's right. So I think that's a really important place to just hold on to for a moment, because often women think that they're going to, in some way, not going to be able to be as successful as men. And the reality is that when they do run, they win at the same rate. And that one of the reasons that they're kind of held back from it is, one, they're not recruited at the same rate as men. So it's very important to encourage women to run. But also when they are thinking about running, they're not seeing themselves as qualified at the same rate as men. So it's really important that we work on women. We work on the confidence that women have in themselves, but then we also create the support infrastructure to help kind of move them forward when they do put themselves out there.
So I've had a chance to interview Stephanie Shriak of Emily's List. Tell me how your organization is different, because there's a clear agenda. Your group, though, is a nonpartisan organization. So how does that work?
Look, it's really important, I think, to know that it's going to take all of these organizations to actually reach parity in our lifetime. And so in the case of Emily's List and She Should Run, She Should Run is really that starting place. So it's the place that women can come when they're thinking about it for the first time. And then there are organizations like Emily's List that are there to support women once they have made that decision. So they're out there and they need money and they need support. So at that point, it's really an issue of aligning with issues that you care about, your party, wherever you identify. You want to really get aligned there. But when you're in that place of really just thinking about where you're running, it's so important that women really think about why they're running and get to know women who maybe don't always agree with them, because that's part of being a good policymaker.
So on the Democratic side, you have Emily's List. What about on the Republican side?
Yeah, look, there's no denying that on the Republican side, the infrastructure is not there at the same rate as on the Democratic side. So you can look at the numbers of Congress and see that Republican women are vastly underrepresented, and that's at all levels of office. So there are some great groups that are out there. Empowered Women is one of them that jumps to mind, who are helping Republican women, and often the party infrastructure is there in some ways to help women, but the need is really there for not only the organizational support, but also for community support. So when women put themselves out there, there has to be that support structure that exists for them.
So then does it make your job a little bit more complicated if you have Republican women who are coming to you? You can't just point to an Emily's List on the Republican side.
Absolutely. It is more challenging. It's more challenging on the Republican side. And I think it actually calls the need for She Should Run's work to the table even more, because that community needs to be there. We cannot expect to have the smartest policy solutions on one side of the aisle. It's just not going to happen in our country, and it's not in the best interest of any of us to fight that way.
Erin Loos Cutraro, thanks so much for stopping by.